Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Entrepreneurial Marketing Getting to Market. Well, if you have a good understanding how entrepreneurs do marketing in general and how it differs from established marketing, you still have to work with the same 4 P's. And one of the P's is actually promotion. And the question is, how do you as a startup do your promotion? Well, maybe it's worth looking into how promotion is done in general with established companies. How do these companies, which you can see here, market their own products? And these are all big companies like Coca-Cola, Kraft, Kellogg's, Nestle, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson. How do these market their products? Actually, many of these brands are not really known. Do you really know Procter & Gamble? Maybe yes, because you've heard of that. But most of the customers know Procter & Gamble brands, which is, for example, Gillette. Gillette is probably a lot more known than Procter & Gamble. And this is what you can see over here. All of these brands, even big brands like Coca-Cola, they have sub-brands which they position into markets when they target customers and where they make their business. So in general, again, the same story. They look at the entire market, these large corporations. They know the markets very well. They do great market research. They try to find a new niche and they position themselves into the new niche. However, they have a big advantage. First of all, they have the budget to look at the market. That's an advantage. And secondly, they know the market, they can do the market research. And well, thirdly, they have a big brand in the back. So they can always say, this is a Coca-Cola company. Even if you can't see Coca-Cola at first instance, this is a Procter & Gamble company. So they use their existing large brand in order to promote the new one. If you start newly as a company like My Müsli, this is a custom mixed cereal company in Germany, you can't do that. Nobody knows who actually, probably it's not known over the world. Why do you need custom mixed cereals? Well, the idea is great. If you don't like the raisins, and raisins are in many cereals, why don't you custom mix it? That's a good idea. However, this company faces a typical situation for entrepreneurs, which is the so-called liability of newness. You can see it over here. Liability of newness leads on the one hand to the fact that there's no brand, there's no nothing, nobody knows it, you have to fight for each customer. On the other hand, you can do whatever it takes. Well, in that case, the disadvantage is you start with a total budget of 3,500 euros. This is their starting point, nothing more. However, since they are innovative, they have a new product to the market, it's good not to have the money. Why is it good? Because you don't know how to spend it. Which is your customer? What are the messages you'd like to bring across? Actually, you don't know. You have a good idea, or you might have an hypothesis. However, as we said before, you need to test this hypothesis. Testing this hypothesis doesn't mean you need a lot of money. You have to talk the first single individual customer into buying from you. Ask him why he bought. You don't need much money for that. And with this reason, you go to the next customer. And then when you're able to standardize a little bit, then you can scale up. But first of all, you have a different problem set. Red Bull has a totally different problem set nowadays than My Müsli had at the very beginning. With what they are selling, actually they have to keep the customers alive. So this is why you're spending 1 billion euro, 30% of their revenue into marketing. And they do all sorts of things like Formula One sponsoring, they do air races and so on. They have a high brand awareness. Startups have no brand. They start with nothing. They face the liability of newness. But since they are innovative, and in most cases we'd say they can't predict what the customer base really is, If you have to find the customer base, you don't know what to communicate. You can only communicate if you know your customer base and the reason why. This is where at the very beginning you don't need more than that. This makes it also very easy to start as an entrepreneur. So what is the main challenge you have as an entrepreneur? Well, you have to find your initial customer base. However, you have to effectively find this because yes, you start with unknown brand, no turnover, scarce resources, no nothing. And out of the no nothing, you have to fight yourself into the market. But it doesn't start with big promotions. Red Bull can do the big promotion because they know their customers. You don't. If you can't predict, don't spend money on something you can't predict. But spend money on the first customer. So you start building a customer base and then you develop with those customers a sufficient market-specific understanding of your communication, of the communication challenge, of the messages you'd like to bring across. This is why as an entrepreneur in your entrepreneurial setting with a new thing, with an innovative thing, where you might want to change customer behavior, you have a different starting point. And this starting point means we have three main questions. You have to think about your advertising, your specific advertising goals in a different way. And it starts with that those goals might change over time. Remember that you start with growth and firsthand, besides financial, and then you step over to standardization and understanding business models. So you have different goals wherever your company is in the development, in the life cycle of your company. Second, it's about achieving communication goals. It's about the question, what is the real USP and how do you get it across? But if you don't know what your USP is because you do not have a customer, you might have asked why he bought, you don't know what to communicate. So first, sell and then learn and then communicate. Again, how do you achieve your goals then? And the last thing is, and this is very important, very specific to entrepreneurial companies, is not to run into the cash burn problem, how to avoid the cash burn problem. And the cash burn problem, and that's just briefly, and we'll go deeper into that later on, is that you're willing, especially if you have cash, to spend that cash on communication, also not knowing whether this communication will lead you to success or not. So these are the three main questions of our second P of our promotion chapter.